Hello, I guess am I audible?
Very
Yeah,
much, very much. Please go ahead.
Okay. So hi, hello everyone. My name is CA Shubham Kumar Jain, and I'm a qualified chartered accountant by profession. I did my articleship and post-qualification experience with Grant Thornton, and I am currently working as a partner with Spans & Co. So my key current profile or specialization are I deal in risk advisory, CSR advisory, and not-for-profit sector. And we are currently associated with multiple MNCs and firms and catering to their special needs with respect to revenue leakage, system plugs, process improvements, etc., which all are part of the internal audit advisory. Today here we are into the internal advisory committee board wherein we have scheduled a session with all our esteemed members with us. Currently, I would like to introduce CA Pawan Kumar Mittal, who is chairman of the Hisar branch of NIRC. If I talk about his qualifications and experiences, he is qualified ISA and CCA, post his qualification of CA. He has diverse experience in handling internal audit as well as statutory audit across multiple industries. He has served Hisar branch since 2019 as a secretary, vice chairman, and chairman. Under his leadership, we have witnessed a lot of strategic changes that may be with respect to opportunities for young CAs, women empowerment, etc. Further, he is a go-to person for any challenges faced. Now, I would like to ask Pawanji to enlighten us with respect to today's session.
thank you, Shubham. Good evening, friends. Dear friends, I welcome you all on behalf of Hisar branch of NIRC of ICI. Honorable C.A. Chandrajot Singh Nandaji, Central Council member and chairman of the Internal Audit Standard Board, ICI. Nandaji is very senior council member and a golden-hearted man, always available for the betterment of the profession, very helping and supportive. C.A. Gyanchand Mishra ji, in absentia, respected Central Council member and Vice Chairman of the Internal Audit Standard Board, ICI. Young, dynamic, and very knowledgeable personality. I welcome both the Chairman Nanda sir and Vice Chairman in absentia Mishra ji on behalf of Hisar branch of NIRC of ICI. Technical speaker of the day, CA Dr. Paul Jayakar, Mr. Sridhar, founder Hectop, PropTech Private Limited, CA Rajiv Gupta ji, Vice President and Group Head, Internal Audit, Flipkart Group. I would like to welcome all the speakers of the day for today. Topic for today's webinar is building an effective internal audit retail industry. In today's era, role of internal auditor has been changed. Internal audit is not only the check of controls, but it is very critical. Internal auditor must have been the part of effective management. He has to provide the effective solutions to the management. एक जमाना था जब इंटरनल ऑडिटर का स्कोप बड़ा ही लिमिटेड माना जाता था, परंतु आज के टाइम पे ऐसा नहीं है. India is the fastest growing economy of the world, and vision of our honorable Prime Minister to make the economy of 5 trillion very soon. Retail industry in India ranks 4th in the world in the term of size and accounts for 10% of the overall GDP of the country. The growing rate of retail industry in India is estimated at more than 10%. For the effectiveness of internal audit in the retail industry is very important. Last but not least, from my side, I would like to thank C.A. Chandrajot Singh Nandaji, Gyanchand Mishra ji in absentia, and of course, Team Internal Audit Standard Board, Madam Aarti, Shivani Nigam, and all who have provided this opportunity to the Hisar branch of NIRC of ICI. Nanda sir always available रहते हैं, छोटी सी कॉल पर जब भी हमें हमारी ब्रांच को कोई भी काम होता है, एक सिंगल कॉल पर हमें असिस्ट करते हैं, हमें गाइड करते हैं, हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स का सॉल्यूशंस करते हैं. आज सर ने जो अपॉर्चुनिटी इंटरनल ऑडिट स्टैंडर्ड बोर्ड के माध्यम से हमारी ब्रांच को प्रोवाइड कराई है, आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक from core of my heart on behalf of Hisar branch of NIRC of ICI. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, and hand over to Subbu.
Thank you, Pawanji. Thanks a lot for introducing all and setting the context of today's session. So now I would like to call upon CA Charanjot Singh Nandaji, who in itself does not require any introduction. अगर मैं इनकी अचीवमेंट्स की या इनकी कमिटी मेंबर्स या कहाँ पर ये क्या है उसकी लिस्ट की मैं बात करूं, दैट इज आई वुड से इट वुड टेक अराउंड 5 to 7 minutes ऑफ द सेशन इन इटसेल्फ, बिकॉज इनकी इतनी अचीवमेंट्स हैं एंड इतनी कमिटीज में ये मेंबर, चेयरमैन, सेक्रेटरी, एडवाइजरी बोर्ड में रह चुके हैं, एंड दैट इज एन एंडलेस टॉपिक. सेकेंडली, अगर मैं अपने क्लाइंट लिस्ट की बात करूं, देर आर मल्टीपल क्लाइंट्स. जहाँ पर भी मैंने ये अपना सेशन का फ्लायर शेयर किया, तो देर वर अराउंड 40% क्लाइंट्स हु रिवर्टेड बैक टू अस कि हमने अपनी आर्टिकलशिप ही नंदा जी के ऑफिस से की है. So now I would like to tell few of his past experiences or past credentials for your reference. He is currently the Central Council member in the 25th Council of India. He is presently the chairman of the Internal Audit Standard Boards and Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. He is the vice chairman of the Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee. He was the member of the Quality Review Board, which was set up by the Government of India. He was the member of the Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India from year 2004 to 2016. He is the chairman of the Committee for Members in Industry of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He was the chairman of the Women Members Empowerment Committee of ICAI. He was the chairman of Committee of Public Finance and Government Accounting. He is the member of SEBI Advisory Committee on Primary Market from 2007 to 10. He has represented ICAI on SEBI Committee on Disclosures and Accounting Standards. He was the convener of the expert group constituted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs by Government of India. He was the member of Southern Asian Federation of Accountants Committee on Professional Accountants in Business. He was the chairman of Continuing Professional Education Committee, Public Relations Committee and Committee on Internal Audit of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He was a member of the NIRC ICAI for 2 terms, continuous, and there is a long list to share. So now I would like Nanda ji to take it up from here.
Thanks a lot, Shubham ji, for your very kind introduction. C.A. Pawan Mittal, the chairman of SR branch. The speakers of the day, Mr. Paul Jacker, who would speak on auditing retail, a holistic approach. A very senior chartered accountant who would drive you through the entire facets of internal audit of research industry. We have a very revered speaker, Shri Sridhar Samdurala, who would speak on role of CROs in retail startups. And the third speaker of the day would be C.A. Rajiv Gupta, who is Vice President and Group Head, Internal Audit of Flipkart, who would speak on emerging technologies, risk in retail sector, and how to mitigate that risk. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very keen to serve, to ensure that we give the best to our memberships. I, along with my co-chairman, Mr. Gyan Mishra, we are totally involved in providing the best services which you can accord to our membership. We are very keen that we give the best in terms of honing of the technical skills. And in this step, the entire month of October, starting from today, is dedicated to the internal audit of retail industries. You have 3 people today, and you will have the entire month resources from retail industry, which shall drive you and tell you how effectively the internal audit of retail industry can be made. I have to present my keynote address. Give me a second. I'll put my PPT and then just start. Give me a second, please. My PPT is visible, Shubham ji?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand one thing very clearly. Full screen. Just a minute. I want to cover the full screen. F5. Now, what are the basic challenges? Okay, I'll start with it. The first thing which we need to understand are the challenges in the retail industry. You have to understand that there are certain areas in retail industry where we feel challenges. And most important thing that it is an area which has been growing recently, and therefore it is pitted with new risks, newly empowered customers. So you need to take care of them. You need to ensure how we have to move ahead in internal audit of retail industry. Second important thing, the relatively new industry needs or expects a seamless, consistent customer experience across physical, online, mobile, and social channels to be able to mitigate all their concerns to ensure that they give the best services to their customers. And more importantly, with the world opening up, world being turning into a global village, there is fierce competition from local players, and there is also international exposure that needs to be taken care of. Now, what is the need of internal audit in retail industry? First of all, retail industry continues to adjust to certain factors that have created a new normal. Yes, please understand, today, if you are sitting somewhere and you want to have something, Blinkit will ensure you have that. You order at Flipkart, you have the document, you have the goods, you have whatever you intend to on your table within record times. Even if you go to Zomato, if you want to have milk, you have to simply call them, simply put a message across to them on a technology interface, and you have that item at your table. More importantly, you need to understand that technology has changed the entire thing, that certain things have become normal for us. Therefore, internal audit needs to introduce a robust system to bring in effective governance so that the interest of the management, consumers, regulators, government, society, all are met out. Internal audit also helps the industry, the retail industry, to face these multi-dimensional challenges and increase value. You have to be very clear on one issue. Every person in this world can do wonders, provided you have the courage to do so. I'm reminded of a couplet which says, Umr thaka nahi sakti, ठोकरे गिरा नहीं सकती. उम्र थका नहीं सकती, ठोकरे गिरा नहीं सकती. अगर जीतने की जिद हो तो परिस्थितियां हरा नहीं सकती. I'll give the English translation of this also. It says that age can never deplete you. Obstacles can never make you fall. If you have the resolve to win, nothing in this world, no circumstance can make you feel lost. So, ladies and gentlemen, our knowledge, our innovation shall ensure that we perform to the highest level. Now, what is expected of internal auditor? Number one, to do holistic evaluation of the organization's efficiency and accuracy. How much you can rely on the documents? What is the level of indulgence which you intend to go in? Second, may I request all to please put their systems on mute? Second very important thing, to drive revenue, you have to increase the revenue, reduce the cost, and create or foster a culture of accountability and integrity, and help the management achieve its objectives. Internal auditor essentially is a management function, and therefore you have to ensure that management achieves its objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to have a written assessment of the effectiveness of the system of internal controls and risk management. Why frauds occur? When there is weaknesses in internal control, immediately you will see a spur in frauds. Very, very important. You have to add value to companies' processes and can even assist companies to prepare for and fare better with external audits. Yes, you have to help the company create an infrastructure where it is able to face whatever audit it intends to. You have to increasingly use technology for key business process areas like HR records, HR management, IT asset management, because ultimately technology gives us three benefits. Number one, the work is done on time. You don't need to go into samples. Entire work is taken. Number three, an error-free result is created. The inference which you draw can be used for addressing future problems. The second thing, you need to address and manage existing and emerging risks holistically. Risk is very important today. How you manage that risk, how you put them in the right aspect, and more importantly, how you mitigate risks when they come from nowhere. You have to enhance efficiency through technology-enabled internal audit. Again, very, very important. And if you take the fourth overarching priority area, the fourth area is nurturing internal collaboration and networking externally. all knowledge, all technology, all processes have to be gelled at one place so that you give the best. Now, what is the cover in this program? Today we'll have 3 topics. I told you: auditing retail, a holistic approach by Mr. Paul Jacquer. Role of CRO in retail sector is by Mr. Sridhar. And the last one is by Mr. Rajiv Gupta on emerging technologies, using technology to counter risk in retail sector, which is very, very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for giving me patient hearing. And I want to tell you that ultimately we have to move ahead and usher new professional areas for all people across. I was happy when Shubham said that he is now servicing so many clients. That is very important. One should take care of all clients and ensure, and we at the institute level, at the board level, will ensure that we give technical impetus, technical honing, technical skills of all members of the institute so that you are able to effectively take care of all the issues that arise. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to Mr. Shubham for further proceedings. Shubham ji, the dais is all yours now.
Thanks a lot, Nandaji. Thanks, everyone. So now I would like to call upon the speaker, CA Paul Jacquer, who is currently working as a director with CNK and Associates LLP, which is a chartered accountant firm. His main subject matter expert, or I would say domain area, is information technology and risk management services. He is also currently serving as an independent director with Panasonic Carbon India and Company. If I talk about his previous engagements or previous assignments, so he was working as a director, IT and RMS at Brahmyak and Company Chartered Accountants. He has served as a consultant with Messrs. E&Y, Royalsoft, etc. He was working as a CTO with Royalsoft also. His main consultancy engagements are with respect to digital forensic audits, business process reengineering, data analytics for businesses, etc. Over to you, Jayapal sir.
Thank you so much, Shubham. I'll share the PowerPoint. Is the PowerPoint visible?
Very much, Mr. Jacquer. Very much. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, so today we have a quick look at the retail auditing of a retail business. And what I have done is I've tried to bring it down to the small practitioners, because retail has become very big. India is now a fairly rich country, and retail is no longer it's not a family kind of, the small shops. Corporate retailing is maybe not the Walmarts and the Reliance, but we have the smaller chains also, which are local to areas, like say a small part of Kerala or a small part of Maharashtra. So what we need to do is we need to adapt and bring value to our retail clients. I mean, clients who run the retail business, because for them, audit may not be a big thing for them. It's basically file the GST and be done with it, taxes, whatever. They may not be really looking at complex audit related issues, but the word audit is very wide. So I'm looking at a value addition, where some of these you might have seen in the earlier presentations of our IASB, or maybe time to come we can see it again. We get used to some of the techniques like heat maps, risk and control matrices, automated alerts, etc. So I'm not going very deep into this. I'll explain this as we go ahead. But I would like you to change over from our routine revenue and expense auditing to something slightly different. The only exclusions are supply chain management and warehousing, which would probably apply to bigger retail chains like centralized chains. I mean, like Fresh or some of the big chains we have, more and so on. But otherwise, smaller shops, they have supply chain management problems, but that we'll have to deal with separately. Warehousing is not a complicated issue. Again, warehousing is a separate issue by itself. Like we have same-day delivery, we have multi-modal hubs now in Tamil Nadu. All over India, 5 hubs are being inaugurated. We can probably see those in a different time. So let's quickly run to what's a retail audit. I'm looking at not a very small family-run shop, but not a giant retail chain, somewhere in the middle. This includes everybody, pharmacies, food products, service distributors, everybody. I mean, we're not looking at any particular industry. So one of the things we know is we need to look at all these sales volume, stock levels, how the displays are done, how competitors are reacting, how shelves are being stocked, and so on. Now, these are the points. Anyway, I'll share the presentation with you. So you can go to the points and explaining each of these points in later slides, because I know I have to make it clear. And the second thing is we want to know also, why do we need this audit? One is we want the suppliers to ensure that retailers are doing their job properly. That means you're working for the supplier who's supplying probably milk packets to a shop or a number of shops. And he's only bothered about the milk packets. He's not bothered about the rest of the products the shop is selling. The other is they also allow brands to measure their success. Now, if you take the concept of a milk distributor, then it comes to the retail shop, you have more than 3-4 brands, particularly in the 2-tier and metros. There are 2-3 brands minimum available. Now you have to keep monitoring, because one will be generally a government brand, the other 2 or 3 will be private brands. So this is not a financial audit per se, but bringing more value to the customers, I mean the clients. So I'll quickly run into the types of audits. Now, if we did this audit through a questionnaire, questionnaires have to be automated. I mean, paper forms, we still use MBA students and so on as cheap labor to collect data. But what we find is the customers are reluctant to answer. Sometimes these boys or girls don't collect data accurately. So we need more some kind of a automated thing, which the last speaker will speak about, like radio tags. We need barcodes. Already there, everything is there. Only thing we need to use that data to find out what is the consumer sentiment. I mean, sentiment has got nothing to do with the wants and needs. India is no longer a poor country. So olden days, only cigarette brands they used to buy by brand. But today, even small things like even children toothpaste or even something even cheaper than that, like a bubble gum, they talk about brands. So that's one thing which we need to collect. The second is, how is the store appearance and location handling the customers? This is again, in fact, in some states, they have started using mobile stores. It's like a bus. You stock it and drive it to locations, because building a nice building in a, let's say in a small village, it's too difficult. So states like Kerala or Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, you'll find the store appearance and location has become mobile also. Anyway, I mean, these are all things we have to accept. Then information about other brands. Long ago, they used to call it market share. That's not enough. It's not enough to know how much I hold in the market and others are selling. We want to know all about the other brands. Now, this is again, how is it collected? I'll show you the electronic forms to collect. So if you look at the first one, we said retail market. Now we are looking at the merchandising report. Now these do with the brand's performance. Now, why are we talking about a brand? If you walked into a TV shop, I mean a retailer, and asked him, you suggest a TV, most probably he'll suggest a TV which gives him the highest profit. He's not bothered about quality or life or other things, because that's anyway the manufacturer's problem. So he will recommend the product to the highest margin. So that is why we need to look at the brand's performance in the organization. So if the customer, I mean the shop's staff keep pushing, or even the owner sometimes keep pushing the high margin items, and they are not really the best in the market, leads to a reputation risk. So they look to the consultants, the auditors to help them out there in terms of how much of demand will be there at any point of time. That's inventory levels. Of course, now just in time is quite easy now, because we have these ERP systems. Stock outs is always a problem, where people come but they don't get what they want. Then are they willing to go for competing products or alternatives? Condition of the products is basically packaging. It's also a very big industry now. and shelf space. So what they do is if you don't have shelf space, you put only the brand leaders on display. The rest of them will be picked out as per customers' requirements as they ask for it. Then units ordered, that we understand. Retail price, we understand. Retail price also, you may mark down, you may have combo offers. That is, there are many levels. Manufacturer offers it, the distributor offers it, or the retailer also can offer it. Sometimes when things are close to expiry, something like that, they start cutting prices. Shelf appearance, I will skip for the time being because this is it's another huge study which comes more under display and how we actually, we say attract the customers, actually how we fool the customer actually. Now, if you look at this form here, a merchandising report, now I know it's very small, so I'm trying to make it a little bigger. Now, if you look at this merchandising form, this has to be done by, see, the word rep is used, I just cut pasted it, but for us, it will be audit staff, whoever the staff is. Now, this staff will have to collect a lot of things in terms of data. So if you take this, whether that grape product is available, it's out of stock, what happened, etc., because there are brand preferences. India is not so bad because in certain countries, those who drink Coke will not drink Pepsi and so on, but India is not so bad. Maybe the next generation will be bad. So they may have high preferences. So we need to collect data, particularly from the audit perspective. We don't generally do this kind of form filling kind of work. So it's more or less on a consulting kind of assignment, which produces results for the management or the whoever employed the auditor. Now we have another report, which is called the promotional report. If other brands, now not our brand, if other brands are holding these promotions and trying to do something, then how do we, first of all, how do we collect the data? What do we process from it? And how do we counter the whatever the offering is? So if you've seen in the recent years, if you have a coffee powder which comes with a free teaspoon, they also say offer this product is available without the offer. Because, you know, a little snobbish, particularly youngsters today, they don't fall for this free gimmick. I mean, maybe I'm old, so if something is free, I'll buy it. So, but others, young fellows are not interested, say we don't want it. We're not interested in that. So that's becoming another problem. Traditional models are not working. So new models are, anyway, they're being evolved. So we need to look at all these promotions, the duration, the stock keeping units, etc. And they also keep promoting, anyway, we have speakers from Flipkart and so on, where they say bigger, the better. So you buy 1 kilo of something rather than 100 grams, 10 packets. So there are a lot of stock keeping units which are now undergoing changes. This used to be a model in the USA where you go to that Costco or Metro or some big shop and you buy in bulk, you buy water bottles, say 24 pack, or you buy toothpaste 6 pack and so on. The same concept is now coming to India now. Now, this is the promotion report. This all cut pasted from images. But I just wanted to look at the kind of data you're collecting and how long. These are called instant promotions, in-store promotions. So when you go to a shop, there's an announcement suddenly, next 1 hour, our bread is on sale or cakes are on sale, or whatever it is. I mean, so I see this in a lot of these shops here. The instant, I think they announce on the mic and then they stop. Now, what about a small retailer? Like somebody is running a small, like say Nilgiris or a Fresh or More or something. Now, he doesn't do an immediate promotion. He does a long-term promotion till stocks last. Even your Amazon or Flipkart will say till stocks last or till it's fully claimed. Of course, auditors, we have to evolve because India is full of so many types of promotions. Then competitors survey, again, auditor, why would he study a competitor? But this is part of your study for the building of value to the client. We need to work on other products. See, no retailer will take a risk of stocking only one product unless it's a brand store like Sony World or something. So they will stock other products, pricing strategies, and whether the products are actually on display, not on display, are they, where are they located, and so on. Now, this is also an important thing when you do a store audit or a shop audit, retail audit. we have to take care of. This is, I particularly find this with, we have two types, branded something like rice, dal, and so on. Then you have the unbranded, which are put into the big drum-like things, and then the buyers only look at the grade. India has both. We have branded and unbranded in the same shop. So you can ask for maybe loose coconut oil, you can ask for a branded coconut oil. These are things which part of our audit should study. Now, in the audit process, scope, I'll make it straightforward. Scope is what we need to fully identify, because one is when you write the proposal itself, have a clear sign off with the client, what will be the deliverables. We are not running his business. You're only trying to point out, show him patterns, and then maybe you could help him with the decision making, but you don't make the decision. Shop owner has to make, or the franchisee or whoever is, he has to make all the decisions. That should be clear. Don't get into this solving the problem kind of situation, because then if something goes wrong, he'll blame you for it. Then we also look at the audit criteria, like what kind of questions would you use? This is more from a development of questionnaires and those kind of things, which we actually, it's all online now. They ask you to click icons. They're not even asking you to type data. We just click icons and the job gets done. So if you see this form here, and I'm going a little fast, but thought I'll expose you to the whole thing. Now, this is something which you can fill online. Maybe I've done this somewhere in Decathlon, probably I've done it in when you checked in for an airline. So many places they use it. But nowadays I find some of these people have a form, and if you're willing to fill it, they're giving you a pen or something. So they're collecting a lot of data. These are for all the activities. How will we design the form? No problem. There's plenty of content on the internet, and of course books also we have. How to design forms, students can do it in HTML or MS Access or something. It's not a very expensive job. In fact, printing has become more expensive than creating these small computer forms. Then you need to have proper appointments. Now, why do we ask for appointments? This is, we won't make the, when we say representative, that could be our audit staff. They have to be extremely knowledgeable about the stores and build a rapport with the management. So what do we mean by knowledgeable? This is a big problem here. Today we send them to a wholesale, retail fruit market. There are some brands in South India. I'm sure there are other brands in other parts of the country. These are regional brands. Now they have fruits. There are other brands which sell only vegetables. And there are brands which sell both, plus some organic stuff. They also have these some organic something, they grow something and they sell it. Now, whoever is auditing should have a good knowledge of what we are looking at. So he cannot go to a vegetable fruit kind of shop today and tomorrow send him off to a shoe shop. He won't have any idea. This is another thing we have, what is called knowledge management. A lot of software is free software, open source is available, where audit offices can actually start building this knowledge. So any team which is going will be given a half-a-day orientation or a one-day orientation. So they don't go there and ask questions. Kind of embarrassment to the auditor also. And then retailers would like to be notified before you visit them, etc., etc. That is fine. But then my emphasis on the knowledge, when say extremely, okay, I would change it to reasonably knowledgeable, because that's, that should be sufficient to get things going. Then we have these photographs today are very easy. You got phones, you got tablets, you got all kinds of equipment today. So the point is that if you had more pictures, anyway, I didn't include too many pictures in the presentation. When you take stock, shelf, weight is presented. I don't know if you've been noticing now in clothing shops, they have one or two youngsters hired only for folding the clothes which other people are opening up to see, because they want the display to always be clean. They want it neat. Okay, not clean, neat. They want somebody is open the clothes, he just throws it. Another the shop staff come and immediately fold it. Now we need to know that whether all that is happening or not. Because sitting in boardrooms or review meetings, we won't know on the floor thing. But of course, now they have CCTV, and in many of the hill stations where they have chain stores, the whole thing is monitored through CCTV, because when these tourist buses come, it's a big mess. And then they go off. Then again, there's a quiet period. Again, the next bus load comes. So easier way to monitor whether the staff are doing their job right or wrong is you can go for the CCTV also. Data Privacy Act, it's not going to be called the Data Security Act, not yet passed. So CCTV is fine right now. And of course, once we have got all the data, we are now talking about visually depicting the data. That is, today we call it storytelling or visualization, where we have dashboards. Because see, the problem is many of these retail shops, unless they're very huge, many of the retail shops, the franchisees are more businessmen. They are not accountants. They are not going to understand complicated Excel sheets. They just want to know what is happening. Am I doing it right? Can I earn more profits? Can I do something better, or can I work with less inputs? So many things, the questions they have. So then we have to make it as pictorial as possible. We'll use the word graphically or visualize. And we need to have key performance indicators against which, that's why I told you, define the scope. You'd already defined how you are going to report. So based on that, we will report, and then these points are all covered, not covered. If it's not covered, we have to find out why. Actually, to give some examples, there is a theater, and there are theaters, small companies, South Indian company. They went into this making these puffs and popcorn and all that. And then they suddenly started rolling it off as a brand. And then they started opening restaurants. So what is happening is their retail chains are now restaurants, ready-made, ready-to-eat food. You also have the ready-to-cook food like batter and so on. And then, of course, the theaters are going on. In fact, they sold off the theater business. All the other businesses are successful now. So what we find is that after your study of the entire thing, probably you'll sell popcorn or some puff or idli or something better outside than in the theater. So, I mean, it takes a lot of convincing the owners that, look, this is your flagship business, but it's only draining money. It's not contributing anything to you. So they shifted over. So now there's a brand and it moves on. Same thing happens to cloud kitchens also. They work with multi-brands, and they also push they also kind of retail units, because they have multiple, in fact, earlier we said customer efficient, satisfaction, etc. So that becomes very difficult for cloud kitchens because they never see their customers. And I should have mentioned that this applies to online as well as brick and mortar stores. It's not just for brick and mortar stores. And what we say is iterative process. You repeat this process because you're more on a consulting role rather than an assurance role. So you keep repeating the process and adapting to whatever we need to do. So to bring it to a stage where the customer, your client, is happy with the outcome, is able to improve his business, obviously it'll improve the fees also. Anyway, so when you come to the data, okay, there are, the thing is, these are all like textbook points. But if you actually look at it practically, one is there's an in-store condition, like stock levels, etc. Because sometimes you find nobody's responding to you, things are all stacked all over. The aisles are, the stock is kept in the wrong aisle. Now, this is what we mentioned as cameras and photos and whatever, all those reports and so on. Activity is what is actually happening, measuring and tracking the actions. Now, most of these stores, if you have noticed, they have a huge bottleneck at the billing counters. Not that they don't have billing counters, they're short of manpower. So if we go a little further down, I'll tell you about the timing. Peak hours, most of the world model is you hire students to run those, like McDonald's, whatever, KFC, all that. You run students to man your point of sale terminals. Of course, they are free during the peak hours, evening or some weekends, they are free. So this again, you'll have to find sufficient data to convince the client that, yes, you need to ease these. Because sometimes what you find is when the checkout counters are really clogged, people don't buy except those big, those cartloads of stuff. Those who came to buy 2, 3 things, they just leave it there and walk out. So to that extent, it's called loss. I mean, it's a loss of sales, so opportunity cost. Then sales data, of course, we can always get because you got barcodes, RF tags, I mean, so many things are available. We can get that. Is the screen visible?
No, I guess there is some issue. I'm not able to see your screen.
Okay. But it says I'm sharing. Just one, can I just stop and restart? Can I?
Yes.
Now has it turned up?
Mm.
No, if some other
Yes.
participant could reply also fine.
Yes, I guess the screen is changing.
Okay. Tech support, can they just quickly tell me if it's there or not there?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so that's what we meant when we said about this observational activity and sales data. These are collected as independent buckets because your processing also will be independent, then it will be consolidated. Now, the next thing is we also have to look at retail audit software. Yeah, of course, all audits we have software. Anyway, the point is we putting things on paper and also finding the manpower who will accurately capture, because some of the practical bad experiences we had was when we take these students or whatever the volunteers, of course they're paid per day. But what happens is these fellows are filling up their own rubbish data and just handing over the forms. They are not actually interacting with client, customers and people. So it's just not to depend too much on people. We have to depend on people, but not too much. So if we move in through digital forms, basically barcodes, RF tags, people's preferences, which we observe on the, now all your CCTV footage can be monitored and processed electronically. We have this digital image processing, so we can do it there. We don't have people watching cameras, so we can do a lot of things. So one is digital forms. Now touchscreen is common. Tablets are very cheap now, so we could easily have this equipment put in place. So that is one. The second is we need to bring this in real time. When we say synchronize in real time, what we are saying is that we need to talk about immediate requirements. Actually, there are a few companies that do it. It's called just-in-time model. There's a brand called Color Plus, which keeps stocking only one piece of each size. Like if it's a red shirt, they'll have whatever the sizes are, only one piece. When the piece is sold, immediately it gets restocked. It may take a few, maybe half an hour, 1 hour, but it gets restocked. Now I'm finding this in a lot of spare parts issuing. It was done with the large companies like oil rigs and those kind of companies. But today we have all this even in the smaller industries. So there's no issue there. Of course, see what is very expensive because of automation, it gets cheaper. So small companies are also able to use it. And image capture, of course, this is what I was talking about, all not just the photos, but videos also. Because video processing is automatic. I mean, electronic now, you can do it on a laptop or a small desktop. No big equipment required. Of course, camera is required, video cameras in this shop. But if it's a Ethernet or a Wi-Fi camera, it can be monitored even in the auditor's office. It doesn't really have to go there also. Then, of course, we have the barcodes. And one more thing is every sale gets timestamped. If you look at that little slip of paper which is produced, it gives you a timestamp and a location tag also. location little rarer, but time is common. The point is, as I told you, you need to identify when your shops are getting crowded. Can you do something about it? Or can you shift some counters to the outside, particularly in the evening time when crowds are getting heavier? Like many people in the suburbs, they come to these retail shops to buy only essentials like vegetables or fruits or whatever. And the evening time, those are shifted outside into the car park with a small tent or a shamiana, so they can buy it from there instead of entering the shop. So there are a lot of things, insights which we get from here. Then electronic signature is wherever the store manager is authorizing or doing something. Normally, olden days you say yes or no on a button in the ERP. That will share the password. So instead, now of course the digital signatures are available. So you can actually get those documents signed, move it to your head office or wherever the regional office is. From there, they'll consolidate it and send it off. Now, okay, this is a long story, so I'll just quickly run through it. What we mean by metrics is what are the specific areas of detail you are collecting in the retail audit? One is, of course, all the demography here means like addresses, what kind of person is buying, what type of product is buying, and so on. So what we are looking for is basically we need to cross-reference and find correlations. That's where the machine learning and your actually clustering was used earlier, statistical clustering. Now we can depend on machine learning algorithms. Plenty are available. In fact, some of these tools are free. You can download and experiment also, so that you will have a very clear picture of tie-in products, complementary products, and so on. So the whole idea of collecting all this demographic stuff is anything related, like the height of a person, what he buys, income group, what he buys, timing, what he buys. There's so many details you'd like to have. Then the product condition. So the product condition is we need to also make sure, one of the things is damaged packing. In fact, you will get on all your Bajao.com music instrument sale. You find in so many places, it'll say open box. It'll say refurbished, something's wrong, somebody returned it. Box got lost, damaged. Sometimes we get biscuit packets are slightly broken, but then that's okay if it is, just for distribution. So, not outside distribution, consumption. So there are a lot of things which you could get from the product condition and then try to improve it so that you don't lose much on the damage part of it. Then trade promotion compliance. See, what happens, as I told you, in all retail places, you have, we have to depend on people. Even I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about paint shops where they sell paint and so on. So what happens is, the paint shop, what happens is they sell the current stock. The old stock remains at the back of the shelf and it doesn't get sold. So then you'll have expiry dates. You have to put sale and promos and all that. So these trade promotions, we'll have to watch what the competitor is doing and how best you can compete by doing something better than what that person is doing. He's selling close to expiry. He's selling colors which don't sell. You'll have to counter it with different. We have already got some data from here, the demographic. We can use that to build our promotion. Okay, from the competition side, as I told you, market share, whatever, these are all the questions you'll probably be working with to find out. I said each of those points I'll expand. Now, these are the expanded stuff. So you'll know which particular product or whatever, who's competing with you, direct competition, indirect competition. In fact, Mr. Nanda told us about imported products. We have local products. We have a lot of those. Sugar-free, whatever, so many stuff there. Then we have our own efficiency. Our rep here means our staff. So did our audit go through correctly? Now, this is a very big problem because when auditors take up consulting assignments, it's not like audit. It cannot be dragging. Of course, statutory audits, we have deadlines, but otherwise, generally the boys go there. They just don't have a preset timing. So we need to work as efficiently as possible to bring value to the customers as quickly as we can. Now, what we mean by crowdsourcing is, now you use the general public, paid or unpaid, others, not your staff, others to pick up data on how things are. So that is why you ask questions when they're leaving the shop or even leaving a hotel, what very happy with, what very unhappy with, and so on. So like product placement, shelf monitoring, etc. Mystery shopping is you have people who like shoppers, genuine shoppers. They talk to the people there, and then they tell you satisfied, not satisfied. One of the problems which auditors have is when they do this mystery shopping for car service, authorized car service or bike service. So you have to take the bike, you have to go there and figure out what they're doing, whether they're cheating you. A lot of work is there. So instead of using staff who may be recognized or who will be known, you try to work with general public, but they collect data from them. So this is one of the main things which we are borrowing from the Western countries, where we use crowdsourcing for the audit. So when you probably finish the audit, you need to have your dashboards or whatever. So this store didn't meet its requirements. It's only about half, less than 50% good. Is whatever it is compliant, non-compliant, etc. This is called a dashboard. Then you take a print and sign it. But today you don't have to sign it. You can send it online. You have Tableau, Power BI, a lot of tools are there. And if you look at this slide, which I'll just expand, see, our retail challenges is one, getting the right products. That's a merchandising part. Then loss prevention, in fact, mistakes, pilferage, spoilage, a lot of problems we have. Then communication of programs to the customers. Of course, now we get a lot of SMS, so you are familiar with this. But there's still a lot of units which don't do that. So they just stick to some old email accounts. Half the accounts are closed. Phone numbers are changed. Then we look at the time saving in terms of packaging. Customer can bring his own packages or whatever, pack it himself. You have these pre-packed thing. Now I find in this Swiggy and Zomato, the restaurants, particularly in lunchtime, they pack the lunches and keep them. So there is we call it meals here. So you order a meal, it's got a set menu, so it's already packed. They save a huge amount of time, money also. And of course, customer experience we need to collect. And this is only for brick and mortar, where customers and staff can have injuries, fall down, whatever. So if you look at these, or better if you look at an insurance side, because all the private insurance companies in India put IoTs on the Swiggy and Zomato vehicles. So they have a lot of data coming in real time. Both the type of restaurants, type of roads, type of delivery boys, age group, demographics, everything they have. And of course, this I'll leave it to the last speaker. So he will talk to you about artificial intelligence, so which you can bring in to process your data when you do a retail audit. So if we quickly just run back to what I did in the beginning. So this is what basically you do. One, fix your scope, and then whatever the audit criteria, including KPIs, you fix, and then fix your electronic whatever questionnaires or barcodes, or wherever, however you're picking up data. Then you get into the actual execution of the audit, timing, location-wise, etc. Or sometimes say there's a cricket match, shops near the stadium, you may want to do audit at that point. There are different things. I mean, you have to keep working on these festival times. Then data and photos, videos, electronic data, your CCTV, IoT is also used, RF tags are used. And then, of course, the evaluation and then your reporting. And once you get your report and start implementing changes, you improve yourself. This basically now we're talking about this audit quality also. Consulting quality also has to improve. So audit and consulting will improve. And I try to put in one or two static dashboard images. It's okay. You can mix missing. Okay. Anyway, so I'd like to thank you for listening in, and maybe I could just type my email here. In case you have any questions, you can send me a mail. Okay, that's my email. So if anybody has any queries, because the queries will be answered in the session itself, but if you have further queries, please feel free to ask. So this is my, it's pauljaker@gmail.com. So I've stopped sharing now. So moderator can take over. I've stopped my screen sharing.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks a lot. It was a very grateful session, and it was very informative and was very engaging. Thanks, Adan. So now I would like to introduce you with Sridhar. Sridhar I am Calcutta graduate, and he has around 18 years of experience with Reliance, Paytm, and consulting firms PwC and EY. He is currently working as a vice president at Paytm for last 2 years, and is specialized in RegTech and FinCrime and FinTech. He is founder of Hecta PropTech Private Limited. So today, Sridhar would like to talk about the role of CRO in retail startups. Over to you, Sridhar.
Sure. Thank you, Shubham. Appreciate the audience. Thank you, ICAI, IIA for this opportunity. Just clarifying what Shubham, explained about my introduction. I was with Paytm, but that's quite a while ago. After that, I was with Tata Digital. I was the chief risk officer for the Tata New app. I quit that job and starting my own venture called Hecta PropTech. So you might wonder, what is this, Hecta PropTech, and what is this guy, CRO, etc. So I'm just trying to clarify. I was the CRO for Paytm and then Tata New, etc. I quit to do my own thing. And today is my first day, of my venture.
Got your point.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, I would like to share my experience on, the role of CRO, especially in startups, in retail startups. I worked in Reliance Retail. I was part of the launch team way back 15 years back. I was part of the core launch team where we launched the first Reliance grocery store, fresh store, first Reliance digital store, trends, footprint, which you don't see now. Reliance Jewel, etc. We launched all these formats way back 15 years back, and it takes so much of pride to see that now they're like more than 12,000 stores strong. So, and then after that, I worked with EY as an SMR, providing consulting services to retail clients, domestic and international. And then I joined Paytm, and then the whole era changed in the last 15 years. Now the retail is predominantly on the phone. So the whole, the definition of consumer coming to a store, placing an order and, buying goods has completely shifted to a digital identity, on the app. And with it brought a lot of changes to the whole process, and completely redefined the role of the chief risk officer in this kind of an environment. I have 3 slides that I put together for this session. I'll keep it very crisp and to the point. The first message, that I would like to bring, this is my personal experience, is that the new age chief risk officer, especially for, a retail startup, should have that mindset to balance both controls and convenience. These are 2 ends of the spectrum. Let's take an example. If we were to, for example, log into a HDFC account or an ICICI account, or, some of the old age, large banks, typically you would have to remember your customer ID over and above your bank account number, then a password, then probably an additional authentication, identify an image or something like that. and then probably an OTP, etc. So sometimes you may have to write down all these details to remember to log into such an account and to transact. And then you may have to use your debit card to write the grid values, etc. I mean, these are all controls for our own safety, right? On the other extreme, all the new age wallet forms, payment forms, Paytm, PhonePe, Google Pay, etc. They brought a whole revolution of that. You don't have to remember your account number, etc. You just have to, the mobile numbers are there on your phone. You just have to make one click, and the payment is made. It's very simple, completely convenient. And they disrupted this industry. They brought a lot of people on board. Be it senior citizens, housewives, children, etc. Now, this is the completely other end of the spectrum. We also generated this whole phishing industry, the Jamtara, the Mewat, etc., the incidents, etc. And accordingly, we had to evolve the risk methodology. Thinking had to evolve, keep up pace to protect, the organization, customers from the, phishing fraudsters. So you can call it, probably we can have a little more controls around it, maybe a layer of, security, OTP, etc., to move it little towards the controls end. So the point is, you have at one end, logging into a large bank account, bank account of a large bank, vis-a-vis, logging using a mobile wallet to pay. You see, the convenience and controls, and it is that judiciousness, the experience and skill, the maturity of that chief risk officer to balance it, in the interest of that ecosystem. There's no right or wrong. It is about the risk appetite of that organization, of the culture of that chief risk officer to take it forward. So we're not saying right, wrong, but the new age startup founders would push it towards convenience, while maybe the chief risk officer has to push the needle towards a little stronger control environment, and that's when a balance would emerge. But at the same time, if the chief risk officer pushes it towards a traditional control environment, maybe the organization, the management would not take it, because the whole existence of that startup is because of disrupting that control environment, bringing that convenience to customers. That's how there is adoption, there is growth, both in terms of users, transactions, value, etc. So this principle I felt is the most important principle that CRM needs to implement. And then talking about the function, how it would emerge. I think the function of risks, the focus should be only in building a good monitoring system, and probably a near real-time monitoring system, so that we are quick enough to respond and react. So, there are a lot of variables. When we do a, risk exercise, enterprise risk management, risk registers, whatever, we apply our techniques and methodology, it'll end up that, we should analyze. We should have thorough understanding of the business, the product in the new age startups. This is a very, very important function. This actually drives the business, the product, the underlying technology, and all the support functions supporting it. So I would say these 4 dimensions are extremely important, and a chief risk officer needs to have full hang of things around the process, people, technology, around these 4 dimensions. especially product. I mean, especially the customer journey. Every change in customer journey, needs to be analyzed, assessed for any risk, and build those guardrails. Again, in the interest of convenience and not control environment. So the idea, I mean, obviously the two objectives, of a chief risk officer in a new age startup environment would be more towards improving the customer experience. If you improve the customer journey by removing a certain activities, steps, the risk officer would actually be adding more value. Than adding more authentication steps, more control steps during the transaction. And the second, obviously is spend leakage. I mean, because this is real time. I mean, this is not a traditional environment where you will have, 3 months of planning of, budgeting, promotions, they go live, etc., etc. This is like pick the moment you launch. It's open and then it's technology driven. There are, volume of users who want to transact. So, the risk and reward is very high either ways. So it's very important that, every journey is thoroughly assessed. Every promotion is thoroughly tested. Every transaction journey is mapped before it goes live so that, there is a balance of that experience and, minimizing the revenue leakage. I can talk to you about an example. There was this case in my personal experience. There was you understand gold, right? When gold was launched for 1 rupee on a platform, it was new age, product. A lot of people trying it out, buying 5 rupee gold or gifting 100 rupee of a gold for a birthday function or 500 rupee gold for for an engagement function, etc. It was, it was a rage at that point in time. And there were hardly any vendors. I mean, there was, I think, 2 or 3 vendors. I'm not taking names at the back end. So, the way it works is you buy or sell on the platform and the transaction is prompt. The settlement to the customer end is prompt. And the settlement with the seller, with the seller who's actually holding the gold in the vault on your behalf, who's managing the physical asset, is at the back end. So the settlement with that seller is EOD, end of day. So there was this one bug where the ledger balance in the seller end was not updating. I mean, so if you sell 500 rupees worth of gold, you could get 500 rupees promptly into your bank account, but the balance was not updated at the back end. So you could sell the same amount of gold 10 times, 20 times, etc. And then it would go viral. It went viral in WhatsApp, etc. There were like suddenly, surge of transactions, customers who were trying to, sell the same amount of gold, buy once and then sell multiple times. There was like 18 crores of damage in one single day because of that one bug. It was only identified next day, in an MIS. By then the damage was done. So, the point is, the learning for a risk officer is, do we have those near real-time dashboards which can, throw those outliers, throw those thresholds, throw those surge in volume or, volume of transactions or volume of people or, and then throw an alarm, etc., so that we, the risk team can react or the product team can react in time. So the point that I'm trying to come is the damage that is done in a startup, for every mistake is very, very huge compared to a traditional environment. So the demand from this role, extremely demanding and, prompt. So, the risk officer is always supposed to be on their toes, always. And the third point that I'm trying to make here is, if a risk officer has to plan as to, what should be his core function, what should be his core activity when they are in that role. I'd say have full control over the users, transactions, promotions, and payments, whatever retail it may be. Okay. Typically, I mean, if the online retail is, it's a role of an aggregator. So there is a seller, there is a fulfillment if it is offline, there is a user, and the online aggregator has limited control on the seller, on the fulfillment service provider, and the user. Okay, but then the transaction is happening on their platform, so the onus lies on them. I mean, why we can disclaim, but put all the disclaimers, but the onus of the transaction lies on the platform. There are a lot of expectations on the users because that is the brand, in which that is a platform on which the transaction is happening. So it becomes extremely important for the risk officer to keep a tab on the number of users, on the volume of transactions, on the kind of promotions, on the kind of payments. I mean, especially startups spend a huge amount of money on promotions to gain users, to gain more transactions. So there are startups which spend probably run 500 or 1,000 promotions in a week. So if you have to run 1,000 promotions of different kinds, be it on volume discounts, price off, cross category promotions, etc. If there are 500 promotions, I'm sure there will be that 50 which will do extremely well. Maybe 450 will not do well. That 80-20 principle applies. So when that 50 do well, it could be because organic. The design of the promotion is so good that there is huge uptake, or there could be one mistake somewhere in the promotion, 1 0 missed, or 1%, some error in some percentage code somewhere, which throws up a vulnerability, and then it drives numbers. So either ways, it's extremely important to keep a tab on the promotions, because then the liability is unlimited. Especially if it is a digital good. If it is a physical good, then you are limited by the amount of stock that you have, the amount that you can fulfill. But if it is a digital good, it's all, there's no control. So it becomes extremely important to monitor those promotions. So if there is an outlier, I mean, if there is a concentration of one promotion contributing to 20% of the volume or 10% of the volume, then it should raise an alert, prompt alert. Or the promotion expires within while it is designed for 3 weeks, it exhausts in 1 day. Then there is definitely something wrong, or something really good. If it is good, we learn. If it is something wrong that is gone, then we need to learn about arrest it promptly. Similarly, volume of transactions. If for example, if the transactions, concentration of transactions is from one geography or one PIN code, 10% of the transactions are from one PIN code, and then PIN code happens to be in say Jamtara, then it is definitely something wrong. If across India 5% of the transactions are happening from one PIN code, then there's definitely something wrong. Similarly, users. If there's a way to while you can only do, there is PII and there is a lot of confidentiality around it. But if there are 10 SIM cards logging in from one mobile phone, one handset in a week, we can imagine a family size of 5 or 6, etc. But if 10 SIM cards are used in one mobile phone in a week, then it should definitely raise an alert. I'm not saying we should block, but at least it should raise an alert. So similarly, if there is a 10% of the registrations in a day are happening from one location, one PIN code, one IP, etc., then obviously there is something wrong. I don't know if you have seen these series that Jamtara and Netflix, Mewat, etc. My God, I mean, we have dealt with those issues. I mean, and those are all real life scenarios. There's nothing hypothetical or imaginary in them. And so it's a responsibility of the chief risk officer to preempt, react in the interest to protect the interest of the organization and the users. We see those, across, and there's a lot of advisory that, the banks, RBI is promoting these days to protect the interest of the consumers, not to give OTP, that this, etc. But yeah, we still fall prey. So it's extremely important. I mean, where your customers are coming from, where your users are coming from, your digital users are logging in from, what is the quality of users, how many of them are recurring, are you building a profile of the user over a period of time in terms of, are they logging in from trusted devices, recurring locations, etc. And the quality of transactions. Are there any huge returns, refunds, cancellations, etc.? I mean, it complicates the journey, especially in a tripartite environment where there is seller, fulfillment service provider, and then buyer. There's a forward journey and then there's a reverse journey, and then, and then it has to pass through 3 stakeholders. And there are so many scenarios that will come up. Yeah, similarly, promotions, and then finally payments. I mean, this is a digital identity which is transacting on your platform. How do you ensure that they're not stolen cards? There are safe instruments that are used to transact. So I think, in my experience, most of the issues would be classified across these 4 categories if you keep track and monitor, have control environment around these 4 dimensions: users, transactions, promotion, from payments. Then the risk officer has significant control of what is happening in the organization. I mean, you have all the other technical jargon. I mean, the know-how that we can use. But predominantly, these areas, these scenarios can cause significant damage if not monitored and controlled. And we propose, we design these dashboards in our experience to monitor them. And the dashboards, we used very simple basic attributes to monitor. We started with concentration analytics. I mean, concentration is nothing but, where is your volume of transactions happening, either in terms of geolocation, IP, devices, or on a particular SKU or a particular brand, or a particular time, or a particular payment method. So we look at all these dimensions. And if something is more than, if the concentration is more than 2%, 1%, etc., then you should throw an alert, etc., every 2 hours, 4 hours, etc. And then the skill of the skill of the risk team, risk professionals, will be thoroughly used in assessing those alerts promptly. I mean, while we can use this technology, there are a lot of technologies in the market now, risk platforms and technologies and methods which we can use to create these dashboards in that environment. But once these alerts are generated, it is that skill, that experience of the risk professionals which will count to assess and react promptly. So there'll be a lot of exceptions, incidents. And then eventually we can go to a prevent environment, proactively create a risk engine which will monitor both the profile of the users and the transactions and then history, and then create a score of a user, score of a fulfillment service provider, score of a seller, etc., and build the profile over a period of time. And then the risk engine can actually prevent, the moment, you can define those scenarios, flags, etc., and then something is beyond, a blacklisted scenario, then they can proactively prevent. So that is a maturity. The maturity of a risk environment in an organization is measured to what extent those scenarios are identified, configured, and then reacted to. And in the process, I mean, we'll come up with tons of product features, enhancements on the product. So this is the real value that a risk officer can add. While the product team, technology team is working on the design of the product, the risk officer actually can contribute. I mean, not adding more steps and complicating the journey, but simplifying the journey and pulling out the authentication monitoring review layer to the backend using the attributes, profile attributes and transaction attributes. So and then we can give a lot of experience to the lot of enhancements, requirements to the product, and that's how it evolves. And finally, again, I emphasize, I mean, it is about balancing controls, not pushing through too many controls and complicating the journey. And then, eventually, if the journey is complicated, then it won't be a scalable growth for the organization, for the platform. It can only be scalable if it can be, even the risk environment is integrated within the product as part of the journey. And that's how, we provide assurance to stakeholders. The entire stakeholder community, be it the management, be it our customers, be it our vendors, sellers, fulfillment service providers, auditors, customers, etc. So I think, this is purely from my experience that I put together of working in very, very reputed startups at a very large scale. I don't know what time it is. Okay, 22 minutes. This is all I had. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm open here on the chat. Or did I make sense? Does anybody want to react? Okay. Hi, Shubham.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm through with my conversation. Is there any?
Okay, so I guess the session was still. I'll just recheck the schedule once.
No, I can continue. Doesn't matter. But is that I can?
I'll just check. Because मतलब क्या है कि आपका सेशन में मतलब मजा भी इतना आ रहा था. Though I had also audited Jabong Retail.
Okay, fantastic.
As a part of internal audit team, so I could relate. Yeah, I could relate the things which you were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, so new age startups. I mean, it's about when they're new. I mean, the focus is on the product, acquisition of customers, etc. Risk comes later. I mean, in that growth journey, when the product is not mature, not thoroughly, I mean, they're in a hurry to grow. There's pressure from investors, etc., to achieve, more growth, more users, more transactions, etc. There's bound to be, gaps, issues, etc. And especially, I mean, it's not only the startup, the platform, right? It's about the whole ecosystem supporting it, the fulfillment service providers, the vendors, the sellers, the contracts, the curation of those products. I mean, whatever digital, physical, the curation part of it, the pricing part of it, the promotions, etc.
I totally understand, because in 5 years, the e-commerce industry, I would say, has changed itself drastically with respect to everything, I would say. And the products, the schemes, the offers, everything, I would say, what all they give. So it has drastically changed. Earlier, I have also seen few of my friends used to buy around 20 phones, 40 phones, 50 phones at one SIM or at one ID. So now, earlier also it was a challenge when it was only for B2C and not B2B e-commerce sites.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so the beauty of it, the good part of it, if you talk to founder, they'll say, oh, now the customer is fully used to, etc. And then now they definitely, will continue to buy only from online. They will at least check before buying offline, and they will spread the word, etc. So the lifetime value will be far higher than that one-time loss in that promotion.
Many, I totally understand. So that was the reason. Abhi, currently we are also serving as internal audit for Blinkit. So there also we have a lot of challenges with respect to 10 minutes delivery at few places. We have altered that to deliver in minutes. So wo hai mix and match everything.
Difficult. It's extremely
So
difficult.
nothing is possible without the risk advisory, I would say, or the key improvement areas, process improvement, operational efficiency, effectiveness, and all.
Yeah, absolutely. That is extremely important to scale effectively. But also we sincerely appreciate the bold aspirations of these founders to make those statements. I mean, delivering 10 minutes. I mean, it actually takes 10 minutes to place an order, 10 minutes to, enter in the register of a society and enter into the gate, reach the flat actually. So,
At the time the potato doesn't get boiled, or the water doesn't get boiled, but you will be able to receive potatoes from Blinkit.
Absolutely, that's a revolution. That's a phenomenal thing that these companies have done it. I'm simply amazed.
So I guess you may continue the session for around 5 to 10 minutes, because I have also seen the chat box as an administrator. So candidates or the CA students have suggested that we want some more knowledge with respect to the retail.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about if it is predominantly students. I mean, I can talk about examples. I'll tell you many.
A few example. One of the candidate has suggested why the retail stores of I would say Reliance have shut down.
So that is they continuously monitor the store profitability, etc. There is when you design a store, you're looking at a catchment. If it is a small store, if it's a convenience store, then generally it's a 3-kilometer catchment. If it is a hypermart or a large store, then there's a 5-kilometer or 10-kilometer catchment. Sometimes, I mean, if it doesn't, generate that profitability or that revenue, if there is a strong local competitor in that area, it's very difficult to depends on that. I mean, the projection can always go wrong, right? If there are 12,000 stores, there will always be that 1%, 2%, which will, not go as expected. And then there is a whole capex cost every month that they incur. So it's, it makes it is wiser to shut down and probably shift, etc., somewhere else. I mean, it's a continuous thing. That's why they monitor same store sales. If you look at the annual report, same store sales. I mean, you'll have new stores, and then you will have some stores which are shut down. So that's very important.
Few of the people have asked if we require any additional qualification for a CRO in big organization.
Yeah, I think it's not the qualification, because CRO. I mean, I don't have a qualification, by the way. I'm not a chartered accountant or IIA. I mean, I haven't attended any internal audit course anywhere. Okay. So I learned it, in EY, as part of working on clients, etc. You get exposed to, that's how you learn. I mean, so I would say it's not the qualification, it's about the thinking and commitment. A risk officer, you're expected to know about the process, the product, the technology, and then you should be very good at analytics, etc. And then come up with insights. I mean, you have to think like the businessman, the CEO. CEO is taking a decision to grow, correct? And when that decision is taken, every decision has a probability of something going wrong. And that will be the, canvas of a risk officer. I mean, there is a decision taken to growth, and there could be something going wrong. So the idea is to proactively see what can go wrong, and then build those guardrails, etc., proactively monitor, etc. So I would say it is not about the academic qualification. I mean, it's more about practical experience of working in these startups. I mean, work in a startup.
I also tell my juniors that internal audit, risk advisory, forensic, everything is just like approach. If you are able to get the approach,
Yeah,
so you'll be
absolutely.
able to sail through. Even an article trainee or an intern can get a very good observation as compared to a qualified person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about that
So
observation.
so one more query we have from retail sector only. So someone has asked, what was your contribution to check the stock pilferages in Reliance retail stores, and how were you able to prevent and check the stock thefts and stock discrepancies?
So in way back in 2006, when when it was launched, 2006, okay, for all the retail fresh stores, which are the most complex, okay, we had SAP implemented, we had BI dashboards, business intelligence system, where we could see the status of every SKU in every shelf in every store. I mean, you could check, how many, water bottle. I mean, for example, you can take an example of chewing gums. How many chewing gums are there in a particular store at this particular point in time, and what are the stock movements of the chewing gums? What was the last dispatch that was received from the warehouse on which day, and how many transactions, how many were sold on that day, etc. You could actually look at all the data to the last unit way back 16 years back. It's very easy. It helps. I mean, if there is an incident, I mean, there is a whole stock taking process, that happens. I mean, and then, if there is any gap that is found, then there is a root RCA that you can do by looking at all the stock movements against that unit, against that SKU, and then figure out what happened, etc. Most likely, GRN is not done. It could be genuine. It need not be, loss or theft, etc. It could be genuinely the GRN is not done. So it's not. Or sometimes you'll find, more inventory than what is there in the system. So it is about comparing what is there in the system and what is there physically in the store. You can find more inventory in the system and less physically. That means there is shrinkage or whatever it could be. Or it is, at two different places, they didn't count, whatever. There could be many reasons. Okay, or not. Or sometimes it could be that, the system is showing 5 and physically you have 10. I mean, that means it's not somebody, some customer is not going to put some additional 5 items in phone. So it is a mismatch. I mean, maybe they didn't do a goods receive note, etc. So
So someone has also asked, what would be the most effective way to check the discrepancy or shortage in the stock? What should be the frequency, and what all parameters or what all approach should be followed?
So there is a daily check that happens. So I don't recall what was the jargon then, but the concept is that you do a daily check. I mean, if your store has some 7 or 8 associates, you divide the aisles, etc. Every day you schedule an aisle to a person to check every day. And then if there is a discrepancy, then B looks at it, does the root cause analysis, and it is corrected, etc. And then tomorrow B does it, and then C does the RCA, etc. So then you don't wait for that end of the month stock count or end of the quarter stock count, etc. By then the damage would have been done, etc. You don't have a clue as to what would have happened. So, and it's very easy for the store manager to recall it, if there is a discrepancy, what would have happened, etc., and correct it promptly in the system. And see, it is not, please understand, in retail, it is important to correct the system and physical inventory, not for the leakage only, because the whole ordering system is based on your stock count. If the stock count goes below a reorder level, then the system will auto trigger a PO. So there will be shipment from a warehouse. Okay, so if the system stock for example, physically you have 100 and in the system it is 5 and the reorder level is 10, the system will keep ordering 5.
Yeah. For the automatic wherein you have fed in the logics and algorithms, in that case, though, it is very obvious.
So what happens is that, you will only get the
Compiling up
inventory
and
that
all.
you have, and you will not get the inventory that you don't have.
Yeah.
And the customer will not have a choice.
Got your point.
This is a real reason why that stock count needs to be accurate, not shrinkage. Shrinkage will happen. I mean, it's budgeted.
So someone has asked any suggestions how to understand the industry if we don't have any particular experience in that industry?
Yeah, you have to get into it. It's like, there is a huge demand for risk professionals in startups now, because as they mature, as they find understand the significance of risk professionals, etc., as they get listed, etc., the governance process takes precedence, and there is a huge demand for risk professionals. Actually, there are very few in the market today. There are a lot of jobs for risk professionals in startups. So, just look for a job. I mean, list down those startups, etc. Reach out to the risk officers. They're hiring.
If you can also share the PPT which you have shared, so that we are able to share amongst the other viewers.
Yeah. How do I share? I mean, just drop me an email.
I'll just drop you my email ID. You can just share with me there.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
And apart from this, any other experience if you have?
My experience, I can go on for 2 days. Non-stop.
Okay, so I guess I'll like to call upon Rajiv Gupta, sir. So if I talk about his brief introduction. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Shubham, you are audible. Yeah.
But I guess my screen has been blanked. 1 second. But I can't see my screen. I don't know how. Is it visible now? Hello?
Yes, Shubham, you are visible and audible as well.
So now I would like to call upon CA Rajiv Gupta, who is currently Vice President and Group Head of Internal Audit, Flipkart Group. Introducing more about Rajiv, sir. So Rajiv Gupta is an author, speaker, and a leader in governance and risk management. Prior to this, he was working as a Chief Internal Auditor at Diageo, India. He was Head of Internal Audit Controls for India and Southwest Asia at Coca-Cola, and he was an assurance manager with PwC India and London. He's a chartered accountant by profession, certified fraud examiner, certified information system auditor, certified in COBIT, holds diploma in information systems audit. He's also the author of Technical Guide of Internal Audit of Beverage Industry, which has been published by ICAI in December 2013. He's a guest speaker with ICAI, ISACA, ACFE, SAMS, Europe, and National Academy for Direct Taxes. He has also spoken on fraud prevention, fraud risk assessment, deep dive intelligence, financial statement fraud, etc. at various international conferences. Today, he will be enlightening us with respect to the emerging technologies and risk in the retail sector and how we need to mitigate them. Over to you, Rajiv, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shubham. I'll share my screen now. Yeah. So, since today's session is all around retail, One thing which I wanted to start the session with is retail as an industry is changing. Yeah, you would have seen the change all the more visible in last 2+ years. And these are some of the screenshots I have taken from the web, which shows how today the generation is getting influenced not by the shopkeeper who is near our home, and we no longer go and buy only the product which is available with the shop nearby. We get influenced today by the influencers on Instagram, on Facebook, maybe on LinkedIn and whatnot. So we hear them, we see them, we follow their suggestions, we follow their advice. And if that product is available in the nearby shop, we buy in the offline shop. If it is not available, we buy online. Yeah? That is how the retail industry is changing around us. So now it is a combination of offline store, your website of the e-commerce, or the mobile app. So you are no longer dependent upon the shop nearby. उसके पास जो होगा उसमें से ही पसंद करके ले लेंगे. This used to be the case earlier, but now the retail industry is changing. You have a number of choices, and you have the choices within the e-commerce app itself. You don't end up buying only from the first app which you have opened. You check the price, you check the brand, you check the design, everything from different applications, from the mobile app as well as in the stores which is nearby, and then you make your buying decision. Yeah, and that is why I strongly feel that very similar to some of the developed countries, in India also the culture of the omni-channel is going to become very, very strong, and that will ensure that the organizations start to become data-driven organizations. So today, in next half an hour, 45 minutes, I will talk about two broad things. One is why the organizations are moving towards being data-driven. And secondly, because of the increased reliance on technology, what are some of the emerging technology risks which you and me, we all have to be careful about, and how some of the remediations we can apply in fixing or in preventing some of those emerging technology risks. So these are two broad topics I will cover today. Firstly, on the data-driven organizations. What is data-driven organization? Every company has data. So what is new when I am saying data-driven organization? Yeah. So data-driven organizations are different. They are the ones who use the data available with them for all strategic decisions. See, so far, many of the traditional organizations, they are and they were using data for departmental decisions. For example, a procurement department, it was using its past data to decide how much to procure next year. Yeah. And what would be the pricing at which we need to procure next year. Okay. So that department is using the last year data to make the decisions for next year, both for quantity as well as for the pricing. Then there is another department, maybe the HR and payroll, who are looking at how much was my payroll cost last year. Inflation is around 7% this year, so we have to give increment of greater than 7% to all the employees who are performing well in the organization. So again, that is a department data being used for departmental decision. This is how, ladies and gentlemen, the traditional organizations used to operate. Data-driven organizations are the new age organizations who are saying, I will not only use procurement data for this decision, payroll data for that decision. No, I will use the data holistically to see how I can help my customers, how I can help solve their problem. And for that, they are trying to make more and more use of the data which is available with them. So it is no longer, in data-driven organizations, the use is no longer for departmental decisions. It is for customer decisions. Whether I am solving customer problem better as compared to last year. That is how the data-driven organizations, and I would say the new age organizations, are using data. And that is the future. And you will be, I'm sure you all are getting hint when you see a Reliance, for example, trying to go in a very big way into the online world. If you see Tata's, trying to go into online world in a very big way, and you see Adani also, trying now to enter into the online world. So they all have realized that the future belongs to both offline plus online, and to give the holistic experience to the customer, we need to better understand the data rather than using the data only for departmental decisions. So this is how the world around us is changing. And this is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, the demand for data scientists is increasing, not only to run the operations, but also to increase the governance within the organizations, to also understand the customer better in the organization, and to understand the customer problems in a much, much better way. So that is why the demand for data scientists, data analysts is increasing tremendously. And as per the estimates by the World Economic Forum, data scientists are going to be one of the highest paid professionals in the world. And my feeling is, who better can understand and play with data than chartered accountants? We have learned about statistics, accounting, financial management, costing, and whatnot. Data science is another layer. If it is added to us as chartered accountants, I think we are best placed to exploit this upcoming opportunity with all of within India and outside India as well, with these more and more organizations trying to become data-driven organizations. Now let's move to the point that why omnichannel's demand is on rise. Yeah, there are two broad reasons, ladies and gentlemen, why the demand is on rise. We tasted the success of omnichannel during COVID. Before that, many of us has reservations that what all we can purchase offline, what all we can purchase online. Many of us had reservations. Nahi, Baba, this thing to main apni shop pe jaunga, wahan par I will try and I will touch the product and I will purchase them. During COVID times, we all learned that we can find ways around even in the online world, and hence many of us have stuck to the online ways of shopping and working and whatnot. Second reason, which will continue to increase demand for omni-channel, is now we have tasted that self-service is so beautiful. What is self-service? I am sitting in my room. I am feeling like buying a new t-shirt. Why to, wear shoes and take out my car, go to market and then find a parking spot and then, go and try t-shirt in different brand showroom. One showroom is of Benetton, another showroom is of, Polo and so on. Why to do all this trouble? Why to take all this trouble? I will just open one of the app, maybe Amazon, maybe Myntra, maybe Flipkart. I will search all the brands. I will look at the reviews, and wherever the reviews are high and the discount is really good, I will order few of those, maybe 2, maybe 3. I will try all of them at my home, and whichever fits me best and is at a good price, I will keep that and I will return others. So that self-service, sitting in the comfort of your home while you're watching your TV or maybe while you're working remotely for your company, you can do the shopping. And that is why more and more omni-channel culture will come. Now, one question may come from your side that, Rajiv, then it means the culture of e-commerce will increase all the more. Why you are saying omni-channel? Because omni-channel includes shop plus e-commerce. But the examples which you are giving are hinting that people prefer e-commerce. Why then we need to open shops? We need to open shops, ladies and gentlemen. And you must be observing that trend with many of the online brands. And we need that because of the human psychology. We need to open some shops to give two comfort to the customers. Number one, the comfort of touch and feel, that yes, there is a shop where I can touch and feel that product before buying. Second is, it creates trust. Yeah, it creates trust among the potential customers that, okay, I can see this, this brand, I can see this company physically rather than just being online. So many online brands who were not having their offline presence, they are opening what is being called as experience centers. Why experience centers? Those experience center doesn't have one set of all the products they are selling. No, it is just to experience the brand. It is just to experience some of their highest selling products, so that you can touch and feel, and you can then make a decision about the brand and about the product or the type of product which you are planning to buy. So that is why I am emphasizing that omni-channel demand will increase in the retail world. Physical shops plus e-commerce, both will continue to grow, because they have to complement each other to be really a successful model. How it helps being a data-driven organization? So because so much data is getting generated. And when I say data, please don't think that data means when a customer has made a purchase, then the data is generated. No. In case of a website or a mobile app, with every click which that customer is doing, data is getting generated. Even if the customer has not purchased it, whatever click he is doing, it is getting recorded. Yeah. Whichever page, whichever products, different brands that customer is searching, different pictures that customer is looking at on the mobile app or on the website of the company, everything is a data. It is getting recorded, and it helps the company to better understand the customer. For example, if I always buy a branded shirt only when it is 20%, more than 20% discount, so that company can better profile me. Yeah. If a product, the moment a shirt is available at more than 20% discount, they can show that to me in one of the feeds. And they may prefer not to show me a new launch, because in general, I don't buy MRP shirts at MRP. So they have done the profiling of me, and to avoid unnecessary noise, they make sure that in that limited space on the mobile app, they can show me the relevant product. So that is one of the very small use case of how organizations can use data to make sure that your time is not wasted, and whatever you like, that type of product is shown to you. Another example is, if my profiling shows that from my account, from my user ID, I always buy men's clothes, then what is the benefit of showing discount on women clothes to me? Yeah, because in 100% of the cases, I have bought only men's clothes using that app. So if the space is wasted on showing women offer to me, I mean, that's an opportunity lost for that company. So that's another very small use case. There are many use cases of understanding the customer and of removing the noise from the website and from the mobile app. Another advantage, what being data driven brings to the organization is, you would have seen, and I'm sure you would have noticed, subconsciously, if you go to a brand's shop in two different areas, it is highly probable that they won't have the same colors or same patterns 100% at both the stores. If you go to a very high income area, and you go to a, say, middle income area or a low income area, and if in case you have the same showroom, same brand showroom in these three areas, the collection which that brand would be carrying, it is highly probable that the collection would be different. Why it is different? Because they are doing data analysis. They are understanding that what type of product, which type of t-shirt or shirt or the dresses are sold in this particular area for this brand. And this is that they make sure that they refill more of those similar model or similar products which are in high demand. So how it helps that particular store? That store then doesn't have to keep inventory of those shirts or those t-shirts which are not in high demand. Yeah, it may be in high demand in another area, but in this area, customers hardly buy that particular color or that particular pattern. So you can save the space of the store. And if you can save the space, obviously it reduces the cost of operating that retail store in that particular area. So that's another use case of how organizations are and organizations can continue to use data to better run the organization and manage the working capital and improve the overall return on capital for the organization. Now, those were some of the benefits, some of the advantages of being data-driven organization. But there are some challenges as well, ladies and gentlemen. One of the challenges, changing company culture is not easy. If it is a new company, for example, which is starting itself as an online company, it is still easier because there is no culture. The company has just got formed, and the culture will be created now. But if a company was into a traditional retail business, and it is creating a separate wing within the organization, and that wing will take care of the online business. Believe me, there is high probability of conflict between the traditional and the new age business within the organization, and changing the culture and changing the ways of working for those team members, employees, executives who were operating in the older ways of working. Yeah, asking them to change becomes very difficult because their internal wiring tells them that this is how I used to operate and my company was very successful and I was very successful. Why I have to change? And that becomes a challenge, and that makes change for some of those organizations difficult. Yeah. So culture change, new organization, easy because they don't have a history. But old age organization, which were into traditional business, it takes time. And in some instances, it is also challenging to change some of the experienced employees of that organization. So that is one challenge they face. Second is unstructured data. See, if you have to do analysis of data from SAP, very easy. It is structured. Oracle Financial, very easy. Structured. Tally, very easy. Structured data, it comes in the form of tables. Yeah, rows and columns. Structured data, you can use any tool to analyze that data. But to really understand what are the customer pain points, what are customer challenges, what customer is surfing on Instagram, what customer is surfing on Facebook, on LinkedIn. If you have to go and analyze those data feeds, many times those data sets are not structured. Yeah. Structured means they are not available in a beautiful format of the format which you use in Excel, rows and columns. So it is unstructured, and one very significant effort has to go into converting that unstructured data into structured data. Yeah. So that is another challenge because sometimes the quality of conversion creates a problem, and sometimes you lose some data while converting from unstructured to structured. Yeah. And to do good quality analysis, you have to convert data into structured. Only then you can do predictive analytics, descriptive, prescriptive, whatever type of analysis you want to do. You need to convert data into structured, and you have to clean. A lot of things have to be done. A lot of outliers have to be removed. All those cleansing becomes all the more challenging in case of unstructured data, which is a challenge if you want to make more and more use of data for making business decisions. It is not impossible, but that's another challenge which you have to keep in mind, and hence good amount of efforts of data scientists go into all this preparatory work as well. The third one is the data privacy concerns. So earlier, now most of the the online organizations, e-commerce organizations, are addressing or have addressed this risk. Earlier, there was this was a bigger risk of data privacy being a concern, that how you are using my data. Are you selling my data? Are you exposing it for some use which I am not aware, and so on. So that is a challenge for the organization which is not focusing on compliance. But these days, many of the organizations, they understand the criticality of regulatory compliances, and they are making sure that all the data privacy and other regulatory compliance requirements are taken care of. But yes, this continues to be one of the important expectation and important area which has to be addressed by the retail organizations. Otherwise, they can be in the really big trouble. Yeah. So that is on some of the key challenges which I see in case of a new age retail organizations. What retail companies can do to embrace the data-driven culture. So few things, right? To change that culture of the organization, you will notice these three qualities in the startup, I would say, or in the new age organization. One is think different. How we can better use data to understand our customers' pain points, our customers' problem, and solve it differently. And that is why you would have seen why Ola and Uber were so successful. They understood customers' pain point, and how they understood by analyzing data, by studying data, by studying the outcome of various researches which were performed, and they understood the customer problem. They thought differently. They didn't say that to operate taxi business, we have to purchase thousands of taxis. We have to decide the rate, and then we will run it. No, that's how any taxi company was operating originally, but they had a different thinking. They said, no, our objective is to solve customer problem, which is they have no clarity when the taxi will come, whether the taxi will come or not, how much fare I will have to pay at the end of the trip, and so on. Buying taxi was not really important for the customer. Customer needs clean taxi. So they understood by studying the data that what the customer wants and what are their pain points. And they used all that understanding to think differently and came up with solution which made them, billion-dollar companies. Yeah. Fail fast, learn faster. You would have seen they keep experimenting. They don't wait. The data-driven organizations, they don't wait for the perfect decision or perfect solution. They study data. They study the trend. They make decisions based on that. They don't sink their cost. For example, fixed cost is sunk cost. So they don't, based on data-driven decisions, they don't spend crores of money in setting up the factories or machinery. No, they make sure that when they are trying something new, they are going asset light. They use, if they have to manufacture something, they do contract manufacturing. They don't say that, okay, I'm launching a new cosmetic brand. I will firstly spend, 1,000 crore in setting up few factories. No, they don't do that. Firstly, they want to experiment whether my product will have a demand in the market. For that, they go for contract manufacturing and so on. They experiment with their product. They make changes based on customer demand. In case their product is a failure, they change the product. They do, customer surveys. They keep changing the recipe, keep changing the formula, and they keep doing it fast. That iterative process is very, very fast. And that makes sure that they come up with the final workable formula pretty fast. And that helps them in capturing the in capturing the market share. Yeah. So that's second, important quality which is there. Third is focus on the long term. They make sure that the data which they are using, it is helping them acquire customers for long term. So they are not into a short term game. Data driven organizations, you would have noticed, are into the creation of delight for the customers. They are not interested in कि इसको एक ही बारी में हलाल कर लो, उसके बाद तो हम अगले कस्टमर को ढूंढेंगे. You will never see that type of culture in case of data driven organization. They want to provide you product or service with such a delight that it brings two advantages to them. Number one, you become a repeat customer. Number two, you spread words of mouth. And why it helps them? Because it helps them, number one, bring recurring revenue from you. Secondly, it helps them reduce their marketing spends. So creating delight for the customer so that the customer is there for long term, it helps the organization in being a long term player rather than कि एक ही बारी में काटो और आगे निकल लो. ऐसा they don't do. So that's how the data driven organizations are changing the culture as well as the expectations of the customers. And I'm sure most of you would have experienced that कि अरे यार इस कंपनी का शोरूम में जाते हैं तो एक अलग ही फील आता है, या इस कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट परचेज करते हैं तो उसका कपड़ा एकदम अलग है, उसकी जो सर्विसेज हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल आफ्टर सेल सर्विसेज, दे आर अमेजिंग. आई एम श्योर यू वुड हैव experienced that at least in one of the product or services from these new age type of organizations. So that's on the culture part. Guys, this is what I wanted to share for first part of my presentation, which was on the data driven organization. Now second part, as more and more organizations are going digital, now almost everything is online. Even if you are going into the showroom to buy your shirt, that person is even raising the invoice through their centralized accounting system. So they don't have a standalone accounting system on which he is raising an invoice. So everything is now connected, whether you are buying online or whether you are buying offline. So when everything is becoming digital, the risk of digital is also increasing tremendously. So let's talk about some of the emerging technologies risk, which are all the more, which can be all the more bigger risk in the retail sector. And we will also quickly discuss what we can do to prevent them or remediate them. Yeah. So first one, this started coming, I think 2-3 years ago. I presented a few slides on this in some of the CA conferences, but I think nobody took this particular risk very seriously. And I think only last week, one of the CEO in Hyderabad, using this particular risk, which is juice jacking, he has lost 16 lakh rupees from his personal bank account. Yeah. 16 lakh from personal bank account is not a small amount, and that's why and that's a use case of why it is very important for all of us to understand what is juice jacking. So, ladies and gentlemen, juice jacking is basically an exploitation using your mobile charger. Yeah, if you are using a mobile charger which is not your own, you are at risk. Earlier, we were very comfortable when I was on Android phones. I never used to worry about my mobile charger. Why? Because I knew that C-type charger is with 99% of the people who will be traveling with me or around me. I used to, I can easily ask anyone, can I borrow your cable for a few minutes? And nobody used to say no. But now, please, we have to stop. We have to avoid doing that, because now what the fraudsters are doing, please hear me very carefully. What they are doing, in the charger cable, that USB portion is there. They are putting an additional chip. They are putting an additional chip on that USB portion of the charger. And the moment you put the charger on your mobile phone, while the electric current is going to your mobile phone so that your mobile phone charges, but at the same time, data is flowing from your mobile phone to that chip. Ideally, it has to be one-way traffic. Only the electric charge has to go to your mobile. That is how mobile chargers are supposed to operate. But with that extra chip, your data is going to the chip. Anything which is saved in your mobile is going into that chip, and you will get absolute zero idea that somebody has copied anything and everything which was there on your mobile phone into that chip. Yeah. So you have to be careful about two things. Number one, be very, 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 very careful about borrowing a mobile charger going forward. Secondly, even if you're carrying your own mobile charger, second risk in juice jacking is you would have noticed, especially in hotels and at the airport, you have two options to plug. One option is that 2-pin point or 3-pin point. That is safe. But at many places, you would have noticed a USB charging wala socket. So what you do, you remove your 3-pin point wala plug, because behind that you have the USB cable. So you insert your USB cable into that socket, which is a USB socket, right? That again is equally risky, because in that USB socket, if someone has put in a chip, the moment you put your own USB cable, the data again can go, 100% of your data can go into that chip, which was part of that socket. So be very, very careful of number one, whose charging cable you are using. Number two, whether you are putting it on the USB port or on the 2-pin or the 3-pin port. If that USB port, you can trust it, it is in your home or something like that, it's okay. But if it is on airport and all those, you have to be careful. Now, there is a device. Now you may say, Rajiv, but many of us are frequent travelers, right? We travel very frequently, and many of us are not carrying power banks. So sometimes we have to charge. What to do? Are you saying if our mobile is drained, we should not recharge our mobile? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, number one, you have to be aware that this risk is there. And there are some devices, some add-ons which are available. You can buy, I think, from Amazon or Flipkart, or they're maybe on the mobile store as well, which are called USB data protector. If you Google it after this session, you will find many websites selling it. It's a small sort of a USB attachment, which you can attach onto your USB charging cable, which will make sure that only the electric current then passes from your charging cable and not the data. Yeah. But before you buy, please look at the reviews as well, because it should not so happen that that particular data protector is not working the way it should be. So buy from of a reputed brand, so that you are, and it's not expensive, guys. I think it is 300-400 rupees ka ek chota sa data protector attachment, which is there. You can buy very easily online. Yeah. So that is on juice jacking. There is one very recent use case of this CEO. The investigations are going on, and I don't have 100% details of how exactly the 16 lakh rupees were taken out from his bank. But I'm sure, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, if you also Google it, based on investigation, whatever is the result, we all will be able to read about that. Yeah. Next one is, ladies and gentlemen, becoming a big risk for any organization, be it retail or others. It is account takeover fraud. Now, what is account takeover fraud? It's by name it sounds strange, but please understand the modus operandi. Let me connect the dots for you. These hackers, what they are doing, they are trying to break into the customer database of smaller companies. Yeah. smaller companies, not big companies, not the, what we call it, large cap or, the mega cap companies, small, very small startups who may have started maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And hence the amount of cyber security budget which those small startups may have may be very limited. So they're targeting those. Now you may say, Rajiv, what's the big deal if they are targeting those small companies? I have to not even heard the name of those companies. So even if they are able to hack them, mera kya bigad lenge? Why they are doing it? Because they know human psychology. What is the human psychology? That we cannot remember too many different passwords. And everybody who is on the call right now would be having multiple bank accounts for sure, multiple social media accounts for sure, multiple financial institutions, these money control or maybe Ind Money or whatnot, unke account, and what else? I mean, 20 plus different websites or apps ke ID password, all of us would be having. Now, but we are human beings. We can't remember 20. We don't like to create 20 different passwords. So it is highly possible that I may have used the same password for other websites as well. So what they are trying to do, they are trying to capture, because they know to break into the server of a small company is a bit easier as compared to large companies, because large companies have larger budget for cyber security as well. So let's take an example. Now, suppose they hack into, let me see if I have that case. Let me see there. This one. Yeah, ProctorU. Let me connect this one with the account takeover. Now, ProctorU is an online exam website. Now, let's suppose I am also a student enrolled here, so that I can give some of the professional exam. Now, they were successful. Hackers were successful to break into the server of this company, and 5 lakh customers' ID and password were hacked. Okay, 5 lakh. Now let's presume I was one of them. Now you may say, Rajiv, what they will do by using your ID and password of ProctorU? उसमें आपका सर्टिफिकेट ही होगा, हो सकता है सीसा का हो या डीसा का हो, सीए का हो, जो भी आपने एग्जाम आप दिया होगा, तो क्या होगा? उसकी कॉपी निकाल लेंगे? No, they are not hacking it to log into ProctorU as Rajiv Gupta. No. What they wanted my email ID, which they got, which is a user ID, and they got my password of ProctorU. Now what they will do, let me connect the dots. They will do credential stuffing. Credential stuffing का मतलब क्या होता है? These 5 lakh लोगों का email ID और password, they, with the help of robots, RPA जिसको बोलते हैं robotic process automation, RPA के through, they will try all those 5 lakh ID and password on different financial websites. Banks हो गया, money control हो गया, for instance, taking name, anywhere where money is there, they will try those. This is called channel stuffing. They are not trying to break into the password because they already have the password. They are just trying to see whether Rajiv has used the same password in SBI. If it works for me, if it doesn't work for me, they will check the customer number 2 because उनके पास तो list है 5 lakh customer की. If that second customer also has not used the same password, they will try customer 3, customer 4, customer 5, up to customer 5 lakh. Now you may say, अरे इसमें तो बड़ा time लगेगा. बिल्कुल time नहीं लगेगा because they are not doing it manually. They are doing it through robots, and they are not doing it on one bank first and then second bank. No, they are doing it simultaneously on thousands of websites. So this is how these 3 things work together. Number 1, they try to hack into छोटा company का server, वहां से ID password लिया, उसको they do credential stuffing on big companies के server. क्योंकि किसी ना किसी human being ने ये गलती तो करी होगी that the same password which he has used on a छोटा non-financial website, वो same password उसने किसी financial website में use किया होगा. That is the human psychology का mistake these hackers are trying to take advantage of. Yeah. So this is how account takeover frauds are done. And if you read the third bullet on your slide on your screen right now, there was a research which was conducted recently, and it was found that many Indian users are still using passwords which they used in 2014 for a brand which had a data breach at that time. So 2014 में एक पासवर्ड यूज किया, पब्लिक को पता लग गया कि उस कंपनी का वेबसाइट ऑलरेडी हैक हो चुकी थी. उसके बावजूद कुछ इंडियंस ऐसे थे जिन्होंने सेम पासवर्ड कहीं और वेबसाइट्स पे भी यूज किया. इट्स अ रेसिपी फॉर डिजास्टर, बिकॉज अगर आपका वो पासवर्ड हैक हो चुका है तो वो पासवर्ड तो ऑलरेडी ब्लैक मार्केट में अवेलेबल है, डार्क वेब में अवेलेबल है. So people would be doing this thing, credential stuffing of that password on all the financial websites. क्योंकि उनको नहीं पता ना कि आपका अकाउंट HDFC में है कि SBI में है कि ICICI में. No problem, they will try on every website. कहीं ना कहीं तो आपका अकाउंट होगा. ऐसा तो हो नहीं सकता कि आपके पास ऑनलाइन बैंकिंग ना हो, कहीं ना कहीं होगी. So they are just waiting for you to make one mistake, and one mistake is using that password for your bank, which you have used for any other website. That is one mistake they are looking for. And hence, the risk is on the very, very high side. And how we can mitigate this risk? By making sure कि हमारा जो financials का हमारा जो भी account है, चाहे बैंक हो, shares का account हो, हमारे mutual funds का हो, उनका password are kept separate, and they are not very old, and they are not repeated from previous years, and it is not same as जो मैंने अपने किसी examination site का रखा होगा या किसी small website जो small company हुई होती है एकदम startup type, उसमें जो password रखा है, please अपने banking systems का वो password ना रखिएगा. Yeah, so that's the learning we have from this particular scenario. Business email compromise. This is something which I am sharing for last 6 to 7 years, when this one fraud which was attempted on ONGC, it came into light. It is in public domain. You can search after this after this call, and you will find full details. Email compromise, simple sa concept hai. It means buying a domain name which either spells similar or sounds similar to the real domain name. For example, ONGC के ऊपर ये fraud कैसे attempt किया गया? ONGC का domain है, जो email IDs का होता है ना @ के बाद, उसको domain name कहते हैं. ONGC का domain name था ONGC.com. So fraudster purchased OGNC.com. So they just swapped 2 alphabets. That domain name was available. They purchased it, and they created a fake ID of the in charge who used to coordinate with Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco was having Saudi Aramco had to pay 197 crore to ONGC for the purchases which they had made earlier. So using this fake ID, an email was sent to Saudi Aramco that I am the same person जो मैं आपसे डील करता हूँ from ONGC side. हमने जी अपना State Bank of India बंद कर दिया है, and we have opened this XYZ account in Bangkok. Please make sure going forward all the payments are made into this account. वो Saudi Aramco ने कहा कि अरे तो सेम आदमी से ही ईमेल आया जिससे जो हमारे से डील करता है, and the bank has changed. So they changed the bank account and they transferred 197 crore जो recent payment due थी, तो वहां पर उन्होंने पे किया. जब ONGC को पेमेंट नहीं मिला, then they made a follow up with Aramco that बाबा आपने पेमेंट नहीं किया है, normally you are always on time, but this time you have delayed. They said no, we haven't made any delay. You said make payment to Bangkok. We made payment to Bangkok, and that is when all these things came into light, that the email was not from say Rajiv Gupta at ONGC.com. The email was from Rajiv Gupta at OGNC.com. Now just think about it, ladies and gentlemen. How many times have you ever checked the spellings of the domain name? Then your professional colleague is sending you email. Do you really check the spellings of domain name? And that is where the risk lies. Now you may say, but Rajiv, how to take care of this risk. I believe that this risk can be very easily taken care by making sure that if we are making any master data change, our traditional controls are made use of. We should not, do away with the traditional controls of master data management. Traditional controls are very strong, that you take the cancel check from the vendor or the customer, jiska bhi apne account change karna. You take cancel check, you take the bank statement, which may be, for example, signed and stamped, right? Emails cannot be, should not be considered as a substitute because of so many, uncertainties which are around that. Traditional controls, as far as these masters are concerned, I think should continue to play an important role, in taking care of these type of financial risks as well. Yeah, it's no rocket science. Very easy to take care of this risk. But ladies and gentlemen, please remember, if this fraud has not been attempted on your organization so far, it will be attempted very soon. Why? Because the cost of incurring this fraud is only 99 rupees. You go to, you just Google it and write, purchase domain name online. You will get hundreds of websites who are selling many of the domain names at 99 rupees. And what you have to do, a fraudster has to just buy a domain name which is very similar to a big brand's domain name. For example, if it is tvsmotors.com, somebody can purchase tvsmotor.com. If something is, if Coca-Cola's domain name is coca-cola.com, somebody can purchase Coca-Cola. It is Coca-Cola actually. Somebody can purchase Coca-Cola. Now, half of the Indians, we don't know whether it is Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola. Yeah, because many times we pronounce as Coca-Cola. So if somebody is selling and sending an email from Coca-Cola, nobody will have any suspicion. Yeah. So that's another incentive which they have, that the cost is only 99 rupees. They will try on you. If they succeed, they will earn crores of rupees. If they fail, it is only 100 rupees per loss, which is not a big deal. Yeah. So in your organization, please make sure that this email compromise fraud is discussed at least with your accounts payable team. I'm repeating, with your accounts payable team, because receivable का तो कोई problem है नहीं, right? Receive वाले को तो receive करना है, कहीं से गलत से भी पैसा आ गया तो आ गया, बाद में वापस तो कर ही सकते हैं. But एक बारी अगर आपकी accounts payable team ने State Bank of India की जगह बैंकॉक में पैसा भेज दिया, तो वापस आना बड़ा चैलेंज है. So that's why at least give training to your accounts payable team कि बाबा पैसा बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए गलत लोगों. Yeah. So in the interest of time, I will take this one. SIM card swap. Earlier, this was not that common. Now it is becoming, all the more, more and more instances are coming for that. What happens in case of SIM card swap? All of us know that, for conducting many of the credit card and debit card transactions. Hello. Yeah. For conducting many of the, credit card and the debit card transactions, we need an OTP in India. Please remember, you need OTP only for Indian sites. For international websites, you don't need an OTP. Using your credit card and debit card, hackers or these fraudulent people, they can go into any of the international site, they can purchase anything, or they can park money from your credit card to their wallet, to their international wallet without any OTP. So I hope you are aware of it. If you are not, please Google after this session that OTP का जो control है, it is only for Indian sites. International sites पे OTP नहीं चाहिए होता है. Your card can be used, misused, in many different ways. Now let's come back to India. In India, OTP is required if you are using any of the Indian websites. So fraudster wanted to find a flaw there कि अगर हमारे पास शुभम का क्रेडिट कार्ड आ भी गया और हम उससे कुछ टीवी या कुछ परचेज करने की कोशिश भी करेंगे, ओटीपी तो शुभम के पास ही जाएगा, तो क्या करेंगे? So what they did, they knew that in India, getting hold of anybody's ID proof is no big deal. you would have submitted your, a copy of your Aadhaar card maybe at the time of checking into your hotel. 99% chance hai. In India, hotel guys, they ask for ID proof for every adult who checks into the hotel. So if you are going with your wife, they don't only ask for you, but also for your wife. So jitne adult hain, sabka ID proof they keep in their record. Even if you are not carrying hard copy, they insist कि आप चलो email कर दीजिए soft copy. So anyways, they get a copy of it, and from there, leakage can happen. I'm just giving one example. I'm not saying always it happens from there. आपका ID proof fraudster के हाथ पे लग गया. Now they will go and they will buy a SIM with your mobile number. Now, but if they enable that SIM card, आपकी SIM immediately disable हो जाएगी, and you will get to know कि करे कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. मेरी SIM card मेरे में connection आना बंद कैसे हो गया? Why there is no connection? So what these fraudsters do, they will call you. Actually, they will not call you. They will call your parents, because they know that children and senior citizens, they are more vulnerable. You guys, younger guys are smarter. Older and younger, they are not really aware of this modus operandi. So they will call your parent. We are doing some maintenance, because of which you have to switch off your mobile for 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever they feel convenient. They will ask, and if you don't do it, then you will lose your connection. This, that, and they will try to scare your parents or scare your the younger maybe brother or kids. Sometimes they they agree to what these guys are saying. The moment they have switched off their mobile phone, the real person has switched off the mobile phone. These fraudsters, they will put the new SIM, your SIM, new SIM with your number in their mobile phone, and they will activate it. The moment they will activate the new SIM, the old SIM, which is with the real customer, that will get deactivated. But customer ko to pata hi nahi lagega, because his phone is switched off. And in next 2 hours, they will try, and they already have your either the bank account details or your credit card. So now they will try to do transactions using your debit card or your credit card. Now what will happen? When they try to do transaction, OTP will come. Who will get the OTP? You will not get the OTP. The fraudster will get OTP because he got your new SIM card. So he had your card details, he has your OTP. Now he will fully utilize the credit limit which is onto your credit card. So this is becoming, this is picking up pace, and it is very, very important that we make sure that people within our organization, as well at personal level within our family, they are aware of such type of calls coming from fraudsters, and to build that awareness within our society around this potential SIM swap fraud. So broadly, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I wanted to share with all of you. If I have to summarize, I have talked about broadly 2 areas. One, that since the world is moving towards omni-channel, omni-channel is combination of physical stores, e-commerce. E-commerce includes website, mobile, and so on. And this culture, this omni-channel culture is coming because we are moving towards influencer economy, where everybody, especially the younger generation, they have someone they are getting influenced with. It may be a hero, heroine, or maybe a local influencer, national influencer, and whatever product or services they are promoting, we are inclined towards trying or using those products or services. They may be available in our nearby shop. If available, we may buy from there. If not available, we'll buy online. And hence, more and more organizations are going into this three circle thing: brick and mortar store, a website, mobile, everything. And this will continue to grow. And this, you can, as an organization, you can grow in this omni-channel culture only when you are making best possible use of the data which is there with you. And that is where I talked about data-driven, organizations. Secondly, I talked about the risks which are coming from the increased use of technology which we are making, and newer ways which the fraudsters are finding to take out money from your organizations and from your personal bank accounts as well. and what we can do to mitigate some of those risks. So broadly, these are 2-3 things we discussed, in last 45 minutes or so. So with that, I will hand it over back to you, Shubham, in case there is any question from the audience.
Thank you, Rajiv sir. Thanks a lot for sharing with us an insight for emerging technologies and risk in retail sector and how to mitigate these risks. So with technologies, I would say we bring risk also, and with risk, we bring the internal audit or the advisory function, wherein we need to keep on monitoring the risk and need to verify the probability of happening that risk and to plug in the controls. So I would like to thank all the speakers who were present for this session. Apart from this, I would also like to thank the IASP board, ICAI, to conduct this session and to invite such great speakers from the best industries of the retail sector. Also, I would also like to thank, in case Gyan sir, we'll just wait for him if he is willing to come, because he was saying that he's just joining. And Rajiv sir, we would request you if you can just share the PPT with us, because the candidates have requested to share the PPT.
Yeah, I will move.
Thank you, Rajiv ji, for a excellent presentation. And thank you, Shubham, for the hosting. I think Sridhar has left. It's okay.
So I must say that it was a very insightful session with Rajiv, Paul, and I would say Sridhar. So it was a very insightful session from the best industry practices. I would say one from the CA firm perspective, the other two from the industry. So I would like to thank everyone who joined the session, all the candidates, all the speakers, IASB, the ICAI who has provided this platform. Thanks everyone. And with respect to the questionnaire, I would say most of the queries had already been covered in this session itself by the speakers. There were few queries which had already been replied to by Sridhar in his session itself, and we don't have any relevant query with respect to this session. It is just that if you can just share the relevant PPTs which have been used to present the case studies and the informations and all. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.